You've been practicing your eccentric overload by bringing your arms up and then dropping and decelerating them. It's great. So we go up slow, we come down, we let them drop, and then we decelerate them as they come to our sides here. It's a full can as opposed to an empty can. So if this was a can here, I've got it facing up, because as I do that, I'm rolling the supraspinatus tendon back a bit and protecting it. If I come up like this, then it tends to, if I've got poor movement in my shoulder, I'm going to bang the tendon against the top of the shoulder blade, the acromion there. So all that's great. What I would change though is you're coming up really in this plane of the body, and I'd like you to come forward, come up in the plane of the scapula, which is about 35-40 degrees forward from here. So my shoulder blade does not rest flat on my back, it rests at an angle. So with this whole issue we've got here with the head of the humerus, we want to make sure that, see, this would be exactly at right angles to my body here, and you're this size. However, the blade is oriented like this, so if you stay within this plane, then you're going to tend to rough up the back of the labrum, which could lead you to more issues up in there. Or if it's out of control, then the labrum is going to tear further down and so on. So what you do is you change the orientation so that you follow the scapular plane. So the arm, when you're doing the exercise, is going to be angled out to the side like this. Okay. I haven't seen you doing your rotator cuff exercises. What I am assuming though is you've got something attached to a doorknob or something, and you're rotating. That's external rotation. This is pretty heavy. You see I'm starting to cheat there. I'm like this, and then I abduct. This is a lighter band for someone with the strength that I have in my rotator cuff. So yeah, I'm assuming you're going to be rotating. Oh, I'm still cheating, aren't I? Rotating externally. For someone with a labral issue, what you want to do is you want to be just, this is neutral here, this plane of the body. You want to be a little bit in and then just go a little bit out. Okay, you don't want to go too far back, because if you do, then the head of the humerus can be rolling back and stressing the back of the labrum. So really you want to be going within this range here. So that's for the external rotation, and then internal rotation is the same thing. Only you have to have that tied off on a doorknob, and in you go. Okay? Those things are common, standard exercises. Hats off to you. What I'm interested in, as you're going to be loading more and more with the supraspinatus, you're increasing your weight, roughly a pound every couple weeks would be my suggestion. Then as you do that, you can start banging around inside the glenoid fossa. If you do that, you're going to feel pinching, clunking, those kinds of feelings. And if you ignore those, then you're going to irritate the labrum again, if not really tear it. And the labrum is poorly vascularized, so it doesn't repair quickly. So it's much better to listen to it. So in terms of stability inside the shoulder joint, to go with the eccentric overload, what I'm suggesting are scapation exercises, where I'll just turn to the side here. I'm not going to be right at right angles. I'm going to turn a bit, so my arm is going out toward the camera, but you can see it's going in front of my body a little bit. Okay? So what I suggest you do are circumduction, which are circles, and start them low. That's great, right? And then up you go. And you can see I don't have my arm, I don't have the empty can thing going on. I've got neutral or maybe a little bit of a full can position here. Okay? So I do the circumduction within the plane of my shoulder. Once I get good with that, I can do figure of eights, or can I? I guess that's like a double S or something that I'm doing. This is a good warm-up before you do your exercises. You should feel that the head of the humerus is well seated in the socket as you do these. Okay? Over time, what you're going to want to do is you attach the band onto some kind of anchor point on the floor. I'll use my foot for demonstration. And as you do the scapation, now you've got this variable pulling as I go along. So that's training me to keep the head of my humerus exactly where it needs to be when I'm exercising. Okay, and then I'll hold on to it from a different anchor point, and I do my scapation. Okay, you want to have one tied in behind you as well, so that when you're doing your scapation, then it's pulling the head of your humerus back, and you're still keeping yourself seated. Okay, so these are open chain exercises for stability inside the joint. And then the next part of that is to do closed chain. So for closed kinetic chain on the shoulder joint, if you organize yourself, this is my right angle, I put my arm in the scapular plane, so I turn a little bit toward the wall, and I'll have my arm out around 90 degrees. At this point I lean into the wall, and I should feel the head of my humerus is seated in my glenoid fossa. And then at that point, what I do is I move my body around by using my arm. So basically it's like my hand is like a foot that I'm standing on, and I'm swaying from side to side. And I can sway up and down and all around. Okay. Eventually you're going to want to do things like push-ups. You can do push-ups against the wall. When you're there, you want to be shifting from side to side. Notice I'm not going that crazy way over the side. I'm just going to the place where my shoulder feels well seated. Then eventually I'm doing the same thing on the ground with push-ups. So I shift from side to side. Eventually you come up and you fall. Over time, right?